Frankenstein and Diablo 3 rely on the supernatural to drive the narrative. However, Frankenstein has a much more nuanced portrayal of supernatural forces, even though it was published almost 200 years before Diablo. In this presentation, I will examine why. First, a look at the supernatural in Frankenstein. The monster represents the supernatural in the novel. He's a very nuanced character with his own emotions and motivations. The monster, although condemned by Victor as a demon, begins his life as a benevolent being that simply wants to be loved. It is cruelty at the hands of Victor that leads him down his path of destruction. The monster more closely resembles a daemon, in which ancient Greek usage refers to a genius spirit between the realms of gods and men. In Diablo 3, the supernatural is much less nuanced than the creature. Although the first enemies are similar to Frankenstein, as they are walking corpses, brought about by mysterious circumstances, they have no humanity. They are simply an obstacle and do not drive the narrative. The primary conflict in Diablo is between the forces of heaven and earth and the forces of hell. There is no moral ambiguity like in Frankenstein. It is made exceedingly clear who is evil and who is good. The complexity of the narrative is what dictates the complexity of the portrayal of the supernatural. Frankenstein demands a complicated, nuanced portrayal of the supernatural to drive its narrative, whereas Diablo's narrative is much simpler, therefore it does not require the supernatural to be portrayed in a complicated manner. Some might believe narrative complexity is directly tied to the format in which a narrative is presented, with novels having rich narratives and games having weak ones as they are focused mostly on gameplay. But this is simply not true. There are many examples of strong narratives in games and weak narratives in games. Look to any bestseller list to see the narrative is often sacrificed for entertainment in books and not prestige. Even revered classics, such as Lord of the Rings, have simple narratives that are lacking in complex themes and characters. While the main purpose of games is gameplay, and many of the top-selling games feature very weak narratives, lately, with the importance of technology, games are beginning to feature very strong narratives, such as the Bioshock series, Metal Gear Solid, and The Last of Us, and those games are also very popular, each title selling millions of copies worldwide. The level of complexity in portrayals of the supernatural ultimately relies on the narrative, and the narrative is in the hands